students, and welcome back to yet another teaching module in economics. Well, this one's titled Money and Banking, and this is the second part of the topic at hand. In the first part of Money and Banking, we studied about the functions of money, the motives of holding money, the measurements of money supply, what are commercial banks and what are their functions. So now we're moving on to the next part. So let's see what we are in for in this module. In this teaching module, we will study about the central bank and its functions, as well as we will look at the difference between commercial banks and the central bank. So let's begin. What is a central bank? Now, a central bank is the apex or main bank that controls the entire banking system of the country. It is the sole agency of note issuing in the country. There is a common misconception that the government prints notes. Well, no, the government has no such authority. Yes, the finance ministry of the government does mint coins and very low denominational notes like rupees 1. And it is the RBI that is the main agency of issuing notes in the country. The central bank serves as the banker to the government, and it controls the money supply in the country. In our country, the central bank is called the Reserve Bank of India. In England, it's called the Bank of England. And in America, their central bank is called the Federal Reserve System. Every country has their own central bank, all right? Now moving on to the functions of the central bank. Primarily, the main function of the central bank is issuing notes. The central bank of a country has the exclusive monopoly right of issuing notes. What do we mean by this? That no other financial institution or agency in the country has the authority to issue notes. So it is the monopoly of the central bank. The central bank was known as the bank of issue. The notes issued by the central bank are unlimited legal tender. Now, what do we mean by that? Legal tender in any country is the commonly accepted currency. Well, in our country, it's the rupee, right? In all its denominations. And this is used to settle economic transactions in the open market. No one can refuse to accept the rupee as a mode of payment. Now moving on to the second function of the central bank. As you can see from the picture, you might guess it is a banker to the government. The central bank is a banker, agent, and financial advisor to the government. As a banker, it manages the accounts of the government. So it accepts payments of taxes, it receives revenue, and so on. As an agent, it sells securities, treasury bills, bonds in the open market on behalf of the government. And as an advisor, the RBI helps the government in framing policies to regulate the money market or to control money supply. The third function, custodian of foreign exchange. The central bank is the custodian or holder of the nation's foreign exchange reserves. It maintains foreign exchange reserves to promote the interaction of trade and thereby stabilize the exchange rate. Now we know that the exchange rate is the value of the Indian rupee against other currencies of the world. In order to maintain the external value of the rupee to our advantage, it holds most of the nation's foreign exchange reserves. The next function the central bank performs is that of being a banker's bank. The central bank is the apex bank of all the banks in the country. It has the same relation with commercial banks as a commercial bank has with its customers. The central bank has some cash reserves of the commercial banks as a compulsory deposit to help them during a financial crisis. The fifth function the central bank performs is that of being a supervisor of the banks. As a banker's bank, It also supervises the commercial banks, and this relates to licensing of commercial banks, expansion of the commercial banks, branches across the country and even abroad, merger of different banks, liquidation or closure of banks. So it is a central bank that overlooks all these activities. The central bank also serves the function of being a lender of the last resort. What does this mean? It means that if a commercial bank fails to get financial accommodation from anywhere, it approaches the central bank, which advances loans to such a bank against approved securities. By doing this, the central bank assures and ensures that the banking system and the money of the country remains stable. The central bank also performs the function of clearing house. Now let us try to understand this function with the help of an example. We have two banks, Bank A and Bank B. Suppose Bank A receives a check of 10,000 that is drawn on Bank B, and Bank B receives a check of 15,000 that is drawn on Bank A. Now we know that both banks A and B have their accounts with the central bank. The checks of both the banks are cleared through their accounts with the central bank. And in this way, it avoids the transaction of cash reserves of the commercial banks. Having learnt about commercial banks and their functions and the central bank and its function, let us now try to differentiate between commercial banks and central banks. So here we go. A commercial bank functions under the control and purview of the central bank. The central bank is the apex bank of the country. It is the monetary authority of the country. A commercial bank aims at maximizing profits. The central bank focuses on social welfare. A commercial bank contributes to the flow of credit through credit creation by advancing loans and so on. The central bank controls this flow of credit. A commercial bank accepts deposits from the public and advances loans to individuals. The central bank does not transact with the public at all. It only transacts with commercial banks. The central bank is the custodian of foreign exchange reserves of the country. However, the commercial banks do not perform this function. A commercial bank has no authority to issue currency, and the central bank is the sole authority of issuing currency in a country. There are many commercial banks, but there is only one central bank. Students, I'd like to leave you with a quote. Every day is a bank account and time is our currency. No one is rich, no one is poor. We've got 24 hours each. We have come to the end of this module. We are yet to go forward with this chapter. So please do look forward to what's coming up next. Thank you for giving me a listening ear.